this was at fairly short notice, and so thank you for everyone to come out this evening and to meet Jerry. I had the opportunity to work with Jerry over the years. Because of the way the riding's set up, communities are really fairly separated from each other, and so while I guess I get to see many people in many communities, you wouldn't have had a chance to meet Jerry and wouldn't know him as well as I do. He's been in politics even before he left school. He went to the legislature for I think 5 times with Youth Parliament, and he was on council at the age of 22, having just come back from some schooling in Cambridge. And he was mayor by 2006, I think, 2008. So at that time he defeated somebody who had started the Rockies. Certainly that's what he said. Started the hockey team, and it was a very well-established real estate individual, and I think Jerry beat him 80% to 20%, which was, I think, a surprise to many people, given that he wasn't out of his 20s yet. He's been mayor, I think, 3 times. You've won, including against, I think, Al Miller, the owner of the Home Hardware, which is huge there, one of the biggest businesses. So very well established as a local politician and also as a business person. And he's Jerry's gelati is it's not ice cream. It's exact type of ice cream.
Call it ice cream. Yeah.
Better than ice cream because it's Italian, which is
As is Jerry, of course.
That's his Revelstoke pitch, right? Very pro-Italian. Anyway, but in the he's got the coffee shop. Makes his own coffee. He has rental properties, owns part of a motel, and his first business, I think, was selling hot dogs when he was still in high school. He had his own little hot dog cart, which is pretty incredible. So, very accomplished business person and a very accomplished politician. And we're fortunate to, I think, to have him to have him as our candidate, and I just wanted to give you the opportunity to meet him. We worked on the HST together. He was very prominent in the pushback on the HST. He was very prominent. I'm sure you've all heard of Jumbo, but there's much about that is very offensive at a whole number of levels. But, certainly if one was only looking at it from a governance perspective, it's egregious, really, that they would create a township. It's still there, by the way. It's still a township, and they had money for it, and very few other things, it seems. So very prominent in that fight, and very prominent in fights to get facilities for his community. Very effectively got an emergency room for the hospital, amongst other things. So anyway, I'll let Jerry talk and then take questions from you. So,
Thanks, Norm. So I guess I don't need to say much. Norm has said all these nice things, but no, it's a huge honor to have the nomination, and it's been really fun to travel through the riding and get to know people in other communities. And my experience with local government in Invermere is a little more East Kootenay and Cranbrook sort of focused. So unfortunately, I haven't spent as much time in Revelstoke or even as much time in Golden as I'd like to. But it's been great to have Norm, to have Joy, helping to introduce me to people, and in a lot of cases, I think having people make their decision based on some recommendations versus actually meeting me firsthand. And so that's really appreciated, and hopefully I don't destroy these grand illusions that you may have. I'll try my best to live up to the expectation. And one of the things when I was first elected as mayor in Invermere, so it was 2008, I was 26, and even though I'd served 2 terms on council already, it was pretty scary. It was a big jump, and so I was a little scared. And one of the first calls I got was from Norm, and he, being a former mayor and being MLA, and speaking in the very calm way that he speaks, it was very reassuring, and it kind of gave me some of the confidence to say, I can do this. And one of the pieces of advice, one of the things that he told me, which again I think speaks a lot to his legacy, but also something that hopefully myself and other politicians can learn from, is we were working on, there was an opportunity to try and get some funding for this redevelopment of the emergency room in the hospital. And what Norm said was, I'm going to stay out of this, because if I get involved, it's going to be a fight. The BC Liberals are probably not going to fund it out of a fight locally and trying to, basically have a political turf war. But if I stay quiet and remove basically myself and my ego from the situation, there's an opportunity for your community and for you to fight for this, and you'll probably be successful and get it. And that was very, very good advice, and it's exactly how it played out. And so that's something that I don't think we would see from other politicians. There's other politicians out there that always want to be the story and front and center. And I had the misfortune of having interactions with the Kootenay East, Mr. Bennett, who is that type of politician that would never be able to do that. They always have to be front and center. And so, and his protege, or the person that he's been trying to train for the last number of years, Mr. Plovchuk, is of course going to be the candidate in this riding. And as I think it's really important that we work really hard. I know Doug fairly well because he lives in the area of Invermere, and he honestly, I can say he's not a genuine person, and he's in it for basically like a lot of the BC Liberal situation, where it's to repay favors for those that are donating to the party, and it's to feel important and look important, and to reward certain types of businesses, especially larger businesses, and things like Jumbo is a great example of taking a project that no one wanted locally, did not have a social license, and approving it and ramming it down people's throats anyway, and not even looking at the logistics of whether it even made sense and whether it was even feasible or even possible. And that's the kind of government that we don't need. And I'm very happy to try to take the experience that I have from the 14 years of local government, and then the experience being a small business owner and operator, and try to work in this region. And so today, Norm and I were able to go downtown and talk to some of the businesses downtown. And even though Revelstoke is unique, and Revelstoke is its own Revelstoke in its own place, some of the issues, whether it's housing affordability, about attracting and retaining young families, about being a vibrant community, we face the same things in Invermere. It will be the same things in Golden. There's a lot of similarities across the riding, and I think there's a lot of good work that's already happened and can continue to happen. And so I'm really excited to try to be part of that. And definitely happy to try and answer any questions or just discuss things one-on-one.